Do not touch your dial. Everything is nominal. You have been chosen to receive this transmission.
We're sorry, the number you have dialed is not in service.
Secure your position. You are now entering the unified field.
Welcome back. And you're in for another sweet treat here on the Unified Field. We're continuing on our discussion on 2012, Doomsday or Dumbsday. Is this the end of all humanity, or is it the beginning of something else? Some kind of consciousness shift? Or is it nothing at all? Is it all a bunch of hype, or not? Last episode, we left off talking about the Mayan prophecies, and as usual, we have our paranormal news coming right at you, sci-tech news, the audio zone, with the last half of that Andrew Basiago interview that you heard last week, courtesy of Jessica Shaw on YouTube. So stick around, it's going to be a fantastic show right here on the Unified Field. I'm your host, Mr. Justin Brown.
I'm David Suzuki. How far away is your next meal? The average lunch or dinner travels 2,400 kilometers to get to your table. Eating local means eating fresher and combating global warming. The future is in your hands and on your table.
Think globally. Eat locally. Eat your way to a healthier planet and a healthier you. Find out how at davidsuzuki.org.
The presidential election in Ghana has been narrowly won by the opposition candidate John Atta Mills. Ghana's electoral commission says...
Sick of corporate news? Would rather hear from people in your community and communities across Canada? Tune out the static and tune into Groundwire. 30 minutes of grassroots news produced by independent, on-the-ground journalists and campus community radio stations from coast to coast to coast. Released the first Monday of every month. To listen, contribute, or learn more, visit groundwire.ncra.ca. This is a product of the National Campus and Community Radio Association. Made by you, for you.
The state of the world economy is likely to be a dominant issue in 2009.
Sick of the mainstream? Listen to the alternative. Groundwire.
Are you interested in organic agriculture, growing and raising organic crops and livestock? Now is the time to apply for organic farm apprenticeships all across Canada. Visit www.soilapprenticeships.org for more details.
Hi, this is Mastercraft, and you're listening to CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax.
Spaceships, aliens, Bigfoot, and more. You're listening to the Unified Field with my dad, Mr. Justin Brown.
Welcome back to the Unified Field. I'm your host, Mr. Justin Brown, on CKDU 88.1 FM. Now, as I mentioned before we left, we were talking about the Mayans last episode, and again, we're continuing on with this segment. Last episode, like I said, I'll reiterate that we spoke about the prophecies of the Maya, exactly who the Maya were, where they've come from, and kind of shot off a bunch of questions. This episode, we're going to go a little bit farther into their calendrical system so we can get a better idea of how that works. This information comes from howstuffworks.com. There are three basic calendars, let me say, before I get into this. There's the Tzolk'in, the Hab, and of course there is one more. It's the long count calendar. The Tzolk'in calendar was the first one used by the Mayans. Most calendars used throughout Mesoamerica consisted of 260 days. The Tzolk'in, or Sacred Round, calendar followed suit. One theory for its length is that 260 days is the length of human gestation, and the calendar was based on that. Another states that it was the length of time to cultivate corn. It's more likely that it was based on numbers. Numbers had great significance in the Mayan culture. For example, the number 20 signifies the number of digits a person has, 10 fingers and 10 toes. The number 13 refers to the major joints in the human body, where it's believed disease and illness enter and attack. One neck, 2 shoulders, 2 elbows, 2 wrists, 2 hips, 2 knees, and 2 ankles. The number 13 also represented the levels of heaven, where sacred lords ruled the earth. It's these numbers, 20 and 13, that are used to make up the Tzolk'in calendar. In the Gregorian calendar, we have 7 days a week, and depending on the month, anywhere from 28 to 31 days. The Tzolk'in calendar is made up of 20 day names and 13 numbers. The days are numbered 1 through 13, and the names are also given in sequence. Think of 2 gears that interlock together. One of the gears has the 20 day names and the corresponding hieroglyphics. The other, a smaller one, has the numbers 1 through 13. Now, if you lock these gears together at the number 1 and the day name, Imix, first day name when beginning the calendar, and then rotate them until you reach 1 and Imix again, you'll have 260 unique days making up the Tzolk'in calendar. It's easy to see the significance the Mayans put on the Tzolk'in calendar. For example, they believe that the date of your birth determines the characteristics you'll show in your personality, much like some people believe your astrological sign does today. The Mayans also use the calendar to determine the crop schedule. It takes one 260-day cycle to prepare the land to plant corn, and one 260-day cycle to grow and harvest the corn. Holy men used the calendar to determine when certain events would take place throughout the year. At the beginning of each Uinal, a period of 20 days, a shaman would count forward to determine when religious and ceremonial events would occur. Then he set the dates that would be the most prosperous or lucky for the community. While these were some of the uses of the Tzolk'in calendar, it couldn't be used for everything. For example, it didn't measure a solar year, or the time it takes for the sun to make a complete cycle. Because of this, the Mayans needed a more accurate calendar to measure what we know as a full year. This is where the next calendrical system comes into play.